Hey, welcome back to the podcast. So, for today's episode, I wanted us to actually dig really deep into metabolism itself. Last week, we talked about cortisol and how cortisol absolutely impacts metabolism. So, that was a great episode. If you've not listened to that one yet, go back either before you continue this episode or when you're finished, because, like I said, it was a good one. But today, I wanted to dig really deep into specifically metabolism because as we have started the metabolic reset, which is a small group coaching program that I'm running over 8 weeks. You can still join us if you would like to. We are focused specifically in that group on metabolism. And I have got a lot of questions from people that are in the group, and then also just people that were interested in the group about what metabolism even really is and if it's something that we can control. And so I just felt like we needed to take a second to dig into what metabolism is and what it's really supposed to do for us and how we can influence it. So, first of all, I want to say that if you've ever blamed having a slow metabolism for your fatigue, weight struggles, cravings that you're having, period symptoms, you're not wrong in saying that. But there is just a lot more to the story and a lot more. It's more complex than to just say, well, I have a slow metabolism. So the first thing that I want to talk about is what even is metabolism? What is like the actual definition of metabolism? So I looked this one up so that I could give you the legit definition. So it is the chemical processes that occur within a living organism in order to maintain life. Metabolism constantly provides your body with energy for essential body functions like breathing or digestion. So, the point that I wanted to make here with sharing this part, and I'm going to touch on this again later, but our metabolism does not stop. And it's not something that we can control. If you caught it in the beginning of the episode, I said ways that we could influence our metabolism. We can't like fully control our metabolism, and we can't control it like there's no magic switch. We can't, turn it up tomorrow. It's we can influence our metabolism, but we can't easily control it. I hope that makes sense. So, when we talk about metabolism, there are kind of different aspects, we'll call it, of our metabolism. So, first up, we've got how our body burns calories, which is our metabolic rate. But then we can break that down even further. So, the energy that's used for basic functions, just like breathing, digestion, basically like what is happening to literally keep you alive, what would continue to happen if you were like a couch potato and never did any physical exercise, never got up, never moved around. It's called the basal metabolic rate, and it's like the bare minimum of what would still happen to keep you alive. Then we've got the energy that it takes to digest and process our food. That is actually referred to as the thermogenic effects of food because, and you may or may not know this already, but when we eat and we digest food, our body temperature actually raises in response to that. And that is that thermogenic effect of food. And then the last kind of aspect of our metabolism and what influences it is the energy that is actually used for whatever physical activities we are doing. And that doesn't just mean literally exercise. That can be, our neat movement, just the movement that we get literally living our life, going on about our day. It also encompasses the intentional physical exercise that we do, but it's like the steps you take while you're picking up your house, when you're doing laundry, when you're picking your kids up. It's all of that. So our metabolism is not always functioning at the same rate, and this is a good thing. And this is a benefit. It's like how our metabolism is able to keep us alive and functioning, basically. We will get signals to our body that tells our metabolism, or our metabolism kind of really tells our body, like, we need to use more energy or less energy. And this can be based on certain time periods of the day or based on other various influences that it's getting, like how much food are we consuming? How much exercise are we doing? Are we doing some type of fasting? And our body is like, whoa, hold on. There's no food coming in here. We need to slow down the energy expenditure because we don't know when we're going to get more fuel. Um, and all of that is really important to keep in mind when you are specifically focusing on dieting, when you are working towards your hormones because you want to see improvement in your symptoms. Because you guys have probably heard me say this before, when it comes to our hormones, we can be talking about a lot of different hormones. There's thyroid hormone, there's insulin, there's cortisol, there's testosterone, there's estrogen, progesterone. That is all hormones. When I say hormones, I don't just mean our female sex hormones. I know that in my world, in my community on this podcast, that's a big area of emphasis, but that's not the only thing that I am like referring to. And there is this snowball effect or trickle down effect that happens with our hormones. Our female sex hormones are actually kind of at the tail end of that trickle down effect. So when we are getting to the point that we are seeing period related symptoms, PMS symptoms, there is a lot of work to be done up the hill to fully correct what is causing those period and female sex hormone related symptoms. So top of the chain, top of the hill type things are our thyroid, our metabolism, our insulin. We get a little further down the chain and we're talking about cortisol. But they all impact one another, which, and you've probably also heard me say this before, is a good thing and a bad thing. Because it's a good thing because when we start to support ourselves in one area, we don't only see improvements in that area, but we trickle down effect still happens. We see it in other areas, but then the same thing happens when we're negatively treating ourselves or treating our body, and it's having a negative impact on our hormones. Then we will get those symptoms negatively as well. So there are some specific, signs, symptoms that would indicate that you have some work to do on your metabolism. And I just want to run through these kind of quickly. So, if you have low energy or you're constantly feeling fatigued, like no matter how much sleep you get, no matter what you do, you're constantly tired and run down. If you have weight loss resistance, despite making like intentional efforts to lose weight, if you've got hair loss, really brittle nails, dry skin, if you're having poor sleep, and that can be either an inability to fall asleep or waking up a lot at night, like not getting into a really good deep sleep. If you can tell, either because you've worn something like a CGM or you've done some spot checking, or maybe you can just feel it in your body that you're having blood sugar crashes, like maybe you get that like shaky, sickish feeling and you're like, oh, my blood sugar's low, I need to eat. If you have coldness a lot, like you're that person that's like, I'm always cold, my hands are freezing, my feet are freezing, or you just really can't tolerate being out in the cold or in a cold environment. If you have those irregular or painful periods, maybe with heavy flow, if you've got brain fog, you just feel like your memory is not what it used to be. A lot of times this gets played off kind of as like mom brain, but it's not just because you're a mom. This can happen to anyone. And it's not the fact that you have become a mom that's causing this. It is because of the stress impact that motherhood is having on your body and therefore affecting your metabolism, your cortisol, your sex hormones that is causing the brain fog. Low mood or mood swings, all of those things. And you're probably like reading that list or hearing that list and you're like, yeah, well, those are all the signs of low thyroid. So how does this tie together? So, our thyroid is a big regulator or big influencer on our metabolism. That's why a lot of these symptoms will go hand in hand with one another. So it's kind of like when we are supporting our metabolism, we're also supporting our thyroid and vice versa. Um, so what things lead you to the point of having all these symptoms? What things are causing your metabolism to slow down that you might not even realize that you're doing? We talk a lot on this podcast and in my community about under eating, and that can be intentional or unintentional. I work with so many women that when we really dig into it and we do some tracking for a few days on just their normal intake, they find that they're actually under eating unintentionally, like accidentally. They didn't realize it, but they're not consuming enough. Chronic stress. When you have elevated cortisol, that down regulates your thyroid function. If you're over exercising, this can also be like you're doing too much exercise, maybe every day or most days of the week, and then also not allowing your body to recover when you have done pretty significant things. So, like, for example, like real time example for me, yesterday I wanted to go for a run, and I am training ish for training ish, for a 5K that is in like a month from now. And I've been dabbling with it for a few weeks. And yesterday I wanted to go for a run, and I was like, okay, my only goal today is to do 3.1 miles and run as much of it as I can. But I'm still going to allow myself to walk, and I'm not going to, in my mind, I was like, I'd like to get this done in less than 40 minutes. Because years ago, before I had any of my kids, that's close to where I was at with timing wise. And I want to get back to that place and be better than that, if I'm being real honest. But so that was like a big ask of my body yesterday. We did it. It was, I felt like I was going so slow, but I literally was like, if we can just continue to put one foot in front of the other and keep going, we're going to be okay. And I did get it done in under 40 minutes, which I was super excited about. It was 39 minutes and 20 seconds, but we're going to take it. Who cares? But I knew coming out of that, that today I cannot ask a lot of my body today. I'm still going to move my body today. I'm going to go for a walk. But today is not the day for me to be like, yeah, I'm going to go for a run again, because that's going to put so much stress on my body. And I need my muscles. Like, I mean, yes, they're sore today, like in my legs and stuff. But even if I didn't feel that physical soreness, I would know like my body needs a hot minute to recover. So we're going to give it, at least a day, probably 2 to 3 days before we go for another run again, or before we do like a weightlifting session that focuses on my legs. Now, today I could reasonably do some arm weights, but I want to keep in mind my body as a whole, not just specific areas. So I kind of went down a rabbit hole there, but I wanted to give that, real time example. Okay. Other things that can down regulate your metabolism: nutrient deficiencies, not taking in enough protein, having low vitamins and minerals. You guys know that I'm like the queen of talking about minerals and how important minerals are. A lot of times when we are investigating symptoms and we're doing testing with a client, we might run a Dutch test to find out what is your cortisol level, what is your progesterone and estrogen and testosterone levels. But then the most powerful piece is the HTMA test, because the HTMA test that's looking at your minerals and if you have heavy metals, that is what tells us why you have the levels that you have. And that's how we combine both of those testing pieces together to be so powerful and help people really get results quickly, is because we have both pieces of information that we need. We have the what and the why. Okay, poor sleep. When we do not get enough sleep and we do not get quality sleep, the following day, our cells are not as sensitive to insulin, which then slows down our fat metabolism and when this happens consistently over time, leads to some insulin resistance. And then there's also, of course, medications that will impact your metabolism. And this is not a complete list by any means, but it's just some of the most common things that the women in my world and community that I work with are on. Birth control is a big one. And then SSRIs are another big one. So then I want to flip the script on that a little bit. And let's talk about some things that we can do easily or intentionally that do support our metabolism to help influence it in a positive way, to help it speed up and work at the rate we would like for it to. And it's kind of the opposite. Honestly, it's a list of opposites. But first up, most important, fueling properly, eating enough calories, and making sure that those calories are from meals that are balanced to support blood sugar. Doing some strength training. And this doesn't mean that you have to strength train every single day. This can literally be as little as 2 to 3 times a week, but building that lean muscle mass over time helps increase your metabolic rate in the long term. Walking and getting daily movement. Again, this is kind of just your normal day-to-day movement, like your step count. Is what I'm talking about here. That over time is going to help both your insulin sensitivity, which then impacts positively your fat metabolism. Stress management, of course, because we want those cortisol levels to be regulated. So giving yourself time for rest, being intentional with your practices to help reduce your stress. And also, I'm losing the words that I want to say. This is not the word I'm looking for, but I'm going to say it this way. Acknowledging the things, gratitude. That's the word I was looking for. Why could I not bring that to the front of my mind? It's probably that mom brain frog I was talking about earlier. Anyway, having gratitude and recognizing joy in the things that are in your life and that surround you and that you get to do on a regular basis. Of course, we're going to talk about minerals and hydration. Super duper important. I've already harped on that. So, get that testing, get an HTMA test and find out where you're at with your minerals, because it literally can change everything for you. Prioritizing sleep, making sure that you're getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night and that it's quality rest. And I'll tell you, especially for those of you in this community that are moms, I know that this is so much easier said than done. I am still in a season of this right now where my baby is waking up multiple times a night and he just turned a year old and I am over it. I need this baby to start sleeping through the night because this is my third baby that I have had to get up with in the middle of the night and stuff. None of my babies have slept through the night until they were after a year old. I knew that going into this pregnancy. I knew that we were going to be in this state again. And I have learned ways to help me cope and manage with that. But when you've been doing it for, a freaking year, and honestly, those last few months of pregnancy, you don't sleep real great either. So over a year, you get to the point that even when you have help and even when you have breaks maybe, or my husband's really good about letting me sleep in on the weekends because he knows that I've missed sleep throughout the night basically all week, and sleeping in through the week is not an option. Those things help, but it's still when you get to that point that you've been doing it for a year, your body is tired and it needs consistent uninterrupted sleep. And personally, that is where I'm at right now. And we are working on it. So those are the things that you can focus on and do to help upregulate and positively influence your metabolism. Now, this is a super high overview, I guess, of what we are working on inside the metabolic reset. This group that I'm working through with, we have 8 weeks together. So, I just crammed all this information into a 20-ish minute podcast episode because I want you guys to have the information. And it's honestly this information isn't a secret. It's things that are out there on the internet. I'm just packaging it up for you and presenting it to you in a nice way. But the benefit of being in the group and going through this coaching with me is that Number one, we're all focused on the same thing because I am just as much on this journey and coaching myself through this as I am this group of women. And then we also get the added benefit of I just threw a lot of information at you in 20 minutes. We get to spend 8 weeks kind of solidifying, learning this information and really understanding it. But then the most important part is being able to take that knowledge and then apply it to your life and integrate it in a way that you can support your metabolism and you can support your other hormones long term, realistically, where you're not overhauling your whole life. Because who wants to do that? Nobody, and ain't nobody got time for it, if we're all being honest. Okay. So big thing that I want you to take away from this episode is that you cannot break your metabolism. Your metabolism is not broken right now. Even if you're somebody that's like, I have been trying to lose weight for 2 years and it will not budge. I only ever gain weight. I feel like crap. I have all these symptoms you've just talked about. Your metabolism isn't broken either. It just needs more positive influence to upregulate. Your metabolism is not something that just stops. It is continually going all of the time. And there are just some key like strategies and imbalances and deficiencies and things that we need to correct in order to get it back to a place that it is burning at a more rapid rate. And the metabolic reset is like the place to do that. Like I said in the beginning, if you missed it, you're still welcome to join us for about another week-ish. Just there's not going to be a link in the show notes, but you could hit me up on Instagram. You could send me an email. If you got an email about this podcast episode, there's probably a link in there. Reach out to me somehow if you want to join us, and I will get you in there. And then the other thing that I want you to hear from this and take away from this is that there is no need to feel like you need to punish your body or that you need to be like mad at your body because your metabolism is slow right now. Instead of feeling irritated about that or frustrated with your body, I want you to flip your mindset on that and instead embrace the fact that it is something you have influence over and that you can begin to change in a positive way at any time once you have the right information and the right tools. Don't let it be the thing that gets you discouraged and just like keeps you stuck wherever you're currently at, whether that is, a weight concern, a symptom concern, period concerns, all of the above. Don't let it be the thing that gets you frustrated and stuck because you can positively begin to influence this and change it at any time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope it helps you to understand metabolism a little bit better. As always, there are some free resources linked for you in the show notes. So if you're new here, check some of those out. Make sure that you connect with me so that you're in my email community. Hit follow on our podcast episode so that you don't miss next week's episode. And I'll talk to you guys then. Have a great week.